Boom! Are we live? Testing, testing. Actually, oh, I should plug in the microphone. I got this brand new HyperX Quadcast microphone. Just recently dropped this week. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Can you guys hear me? I hope it works. Testing, 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 testing. Okay. Haven't gone live in a while. Today, I'm going to be answering the question, does design school lead to design jobs? Because we all know that if we want to become a designer, we kind of have to go to school, get some training in order to land that job, get that degree so that people are like, "Ooh, you're a designer," right? So, how I'm going to show you that is I have a list of some of my classmates, about 20-ish or so that went to class with me. We all graduated in 2017, and I want to share with you guys where kind of we all wound up 2 years later. So if I can just get this all ready and set up. Haven't gone live in a while, so I'm a little bit rusty, so bear with me, guys. Let's see here. Maybe I'll also answer some questions that you guys possibly might have. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So, of course, me starting off with myself, Jimmy Huynh. I graduated in 2017 and graduated in industrial design at Cal State Long Beach. And essentially, I had a couple different jobs during school and also um, during school, and also a little. I had other jobs, random jobs, even before that. But when I graduated, I was working as a freelance designer. So that's kind of just like, I'm picking up different clients and pretty much creating the products that they need me to create. And so a little bit after that, a couple months after I graduated, one of my buddies, he hit me up through email. I haven't talked to him in a long time, and he pretty much said, "Hey, there's an opening at my job. Are you interested in trying it out?" And so I already had a job at that time. I was more of a retainer freelancer, meaning that I'm not constantly trying to look for clients in order to get paid and find work for myself. Essentially, I just show up to a place. I'm technically a contractor, 1099, but I would repeatedly show up. And here, let me actually open these blinds up so it's better lighting. Ooh, I hope that's better. Hope that is better. Let me turn this a little bit like that. Okay. And so I found myself at Kingston Technology. That's HyperX. It's also owned by HyperX, or they own HyperX, and HyperX is their gaming brand. And so I've been working there ever since for the past couple years now, 2 years or so. And it's been great. I've been essentially designing things that I've always wanted to design, which is consumer electronics. So consumer electronics is essentially, just like things like this, things like a microphone or phones, or essentially, just some chargers for PlayStation and Nintendo. And so that's pretty much something that I've always wanted to do. And I've always designed stuff like microphones and drones and cameras when I was in school, which also helped led to me landing that job as a designer. And so I pretty much, with the traditional sense of the word, I pretty much do industrial design stuff. My official title is actually a conceptual designer, which means I am the first designer to work on a project, figuring out what it could possibly look like. And then later it's handed off to industrial designers who will, do the mechanical aspect, the 3D of it, and kind of like really doing the solid worksy part of it. But I also help to develop it along the way too. And it's very, very normal to an industrial designer, but technically my title is conceptual designer, which is actually kind of better because I'm the first person to start a project, design it, figure out what it's going to look like. I do all the normal things like sketching, SolidWorks, renderings. I pitch it to the product managers. If they really like it, they'll go ahead and pass it on to the people that'll actually make it, which are over in the Far East, over in China and Taiwan and stuff like that, where they're the masters at making stuff. Oh, we got some people on right now. Hey, Jimmy, will you still be working on more Design Life brand merchandise? I put that on a hold for now because, it was like my very first attempt in building a business, and I was actually losing money every time I sold a sketchbook. And so I was like, man, I need to put it on pause and just kind of like figure out what's going to happen. And so I haven't really been doing too much of that and just really been focusing on the YouTube channel, growing it. And then eventually, hopefully, once it hits a point where I'm happy with, then I will begin maybe possibly selling Design Life merchandise again. But right now I have a ton of sketchbooks laying around my place. Okay, so let's just go down the list. I have a list here of the classmates that I went to school with. I am going to say only their first name to keep the confidentiality, to keep it confidential. Okay, so my buddy Tyler. Tyler went to school with me, of course, graduated with me, and now he is a designer at Evolution Outdoor Design. So he still does design. I remember he really was into a lot of, outdoor gear and designing camping stuff and things like that. And so I'm very happy to hear that he actually became a designer, because it goes to show that even if you get a degree in school, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to get that job. And so I want to let you guys know how my class did and if we were able to land industrial design jobs, because that's what we went to school for. That was our dream. That's what we set out to do. And so I would hope that that's what we ended up with. So I did a lot of research and, kind of did a little bit of stalking to figure out where they all kind of wound up. My buddy Brian, he always was into furniture design. He got really into woodworking and stuff like that. So luckily, he also landed a job doing similar things, not quite furniture design, but in the realm of furniture design, where I remember him telling me he did a lot of CAD work, a lot of AutoCAD, doing a lot of drafting and stuff like that. So now he recently told me he got a promotion, or actually not a promotion, but he landed a different job, which is actually furniture design. So I'm very, very happy for him about that. He's going to be moving away, so I'm going to be missing him, but I'm really happy that he is doing what he loves. Okay, my buddy David, there's going to be a couple different Davids, but my buddy David, he is a phone designer now, or a phone case designer at Incipio. And so he's designing phone cases and some bags, I believe, and specifically focusing on like patterns and stuff like that. So again, designer that went to school, landed a job at a design company doing design related tasks. My buddy Nick, same company, landed in the same company. So when you go to school, usually there will be companies that are around the area that are somewhat connected to the school. And so luckily, if you kind of like reach out to them, and you say, hey, I'm a student at so-and-so school, can you hire me for an internship or something like that? That's also a very good way to land a job as a designer. My buddy Sam, very, very talented guy. There are really, really good people in class, but there are only a handful of people that stood out as a really, really good designer. My buddy Sam was one of them. He used to make these incredible books. You wouldn't even believe it. It was like, what, did you really make that? Or did you just buy this from a professional, Amazon something? Because he was incredible at doing stuff like that. Incredible drawings, always took so much time. And luckily he landed himself at a design consultancy, a really, really good design consultant. And so he's just taking on projects that consultancy would bring in clients. They would ask, hey, can you design this? And so he'll help design that. Usually when you work at a design consultancy, you're going to be working on projects that are going to be what you really want to do and what maybe you don't want to do, but it just depends on what that consultancy could bring in. So for me, it's not really the case. I really hate designing certain things like home goods. Do not like that at all. And so I wouldn't want to really design at a consultancy. I did. That was the freelance job I had that I was telling you guys earlier in this video, but I didn't like designing certain things, but I just had to do it. They told me to design stuff like graphics and GUI, which is graphic user interface. Did not like that at all. It was like graphic design, but even worse, because you're just sitting there meticulously designing little icons. You know, is the color right? Is this the icon really representing what this person might think is the function? Didn't like that at all. And so consultancy isn't the thing for me. But if that's the thing for you, if you like designing a bunch of different things, consultancy will be the way to go. All right, so we got some people here asking questions. Hey, Jimmy, what should I do? I'm graduated and I want to do master's in automotive design or transportation design. Cool. So how can I step in? Guess you just have to find the school that will offer that degree, my man. Just find the school, do the master's degree, get your foot in the door, network with the companies that do what you want to do, and just try your best to get in. That's something that I always thought about doing. I wanted to do car design. You know, I'm always designing cars. Oh, check out this car that I just drew. Check this out. This is probably one of my most proud drawings that I've done thus far. Not ever, because, you know, I'm always going to be drawing. But so far, it's one of my favorite ones. You could also check it out on Instagram. So this is an old vintage car that my boss has. And so I took a picture of it and I just drew it. Booyah, 11 by 17. Super, super detailed. What they teach you in design school is you got to draw fast. And so I've always drawn fast, but now I'm going back to my art roots and I'm drawing slow. Took me a long time to draw that, and it was actually very rewarding. So I hope that helps you out, my man. Just, you know, go ahead, find that school that you want. Depends on where you live. You might need to move, change cities, and just do it. Just do it. Okay, let's see. Okay, Sam Jemmy. Jemmy is also a very good case where she designed stuff like cosmetics, you know, very girly stuff, brushes and makeup stuff. And so she luckily wound up in a cosmetic company designing cases and packaging for makeup. And so I was like, wow, you know, how crazy is that? Like, even something as niche as makeup, she was able to do it. So it just goes to show, if you just try, and you might get it, you might not, but you might wind up in a different thing where you just love it too. But luckily, she was able to land that cosmetic designer position. Okay, my girl Max, she landed in a company where she kind of does design, kind of not. It's more of like a CAD type of a job where she's taking some plans, she's modeling it out in SolidWorks, and then I think that's about it. She just kind of models them out. Sometimes you're not I don't want to say true designer or designer in the sense of the definition. Sometimes you become more of a CAD person where you're taking people's ideas and you're just kind of like realizing it and actualizing it into 3D. And so that's what she does all day, every day. Same goes with Evan, my buddy Evan. He wound up in the same job as her. They worked together. Before that, Evan was a bartender though, and he was a bartender even after we graduated. And so I was trying to get him into that firm that I was working at before, because I was like, man, you got to be doing some design stuff. If you went to design school and you went through the hell that we went through, you know, staying up late, doing all that homework, paying all that money to become a designer, you should probably try to become a designer instead of a bartender. Bartender is one of those jobs where you make a decent amount of money where you feel like you can stay there. But then once you become like 30, late 30s, 40s, you start thinking, oh man, maybe I should have done something else with my life. And so luckily he is now a designer that can hopefully, you know, now that he is a designer, he can hopefully find something next where he would actually do some design work. But for now, it's more of just like 3D modeling and stuff like that. Okay, Cynthia. Cynthia is a designer as well. I think I'm not quite sure what she does, but she was one of those students that was a foreign student. She has citizenship in another country. And so in order for her to stay in America, which is what she wanted to do, she would have to be able to find a full-time job that would sponsor her and have her stay here. And luckily she was able to do that. Not only that, she was able to marry Sam earlier, another designer. And so with that also, she's able to stay in America. Okay, my buddy David. David also, David works with Cynthia, and David also designs like not necessarily products like what you would normally think, like something that you can hold in your hand, something that you can model out. They design stuff like sets, like something that you would go to a car show, you would see that whole set, Toyota or Subaru or Mercedes. It would have big words, and then there would be a nice platform and cars sitting on like podiums and what stuff like that. Or like if you went to event shows, they would design stuff like that where you would hang phone cases all over. So they would just design sets, something that is also a thing that industrial designers can fall into. Okay, they also get paid pretty well from what I hear. Okay, Crystal. Crystal designs footwear-ish kind of thing. So the last time I talked to her, what she told me was she did a kind of like Alibaba type of thing. If you guys don't know what Alibaba is, it's essentially the website Alibaba. You can find a lot of different what do they call them? There's a lot of pre-made products, and all the company has to do is buy that product from Alibaba. They're all made, they're all ready, ready for you, and all you have to do is put your logo on it. Like Billy Bob's Cosmetics, and you just stamp that logo on that pre-made product and you sell it as your own. And so that's kind of what she does with shoes. So what she says is she'll find a very similar product out there, modify it very slightly. Hey, can you make it a little bit taller? Can you change this color? And then you just put your logo on it and you sell it and you see if it sells or not. So that's kind of what she does. Another kind of form of industrial design, not necessarily true industrial design where you're starting from the bottom and you're figuring out, you're sketching, you're figuring out solutions, but it's still something in the realm of industrial design, I would say. Okay, let me take some time to read the comments. David! My buddy David is on. What up, dude? Looking sharp required as your job or by choice? It is by choice. A lot of people at my company dress very casually, but what I found is that if you do dress nicely, people kind of treat you a little bit better, I would say. They kind of, think that you are always working. And what I hear psychology-wise is the more respectable you look, the more trustworthy people perceive you as. Whether that's true or not, maybe. I would say so. And also my buddy Sam, who every single day for school, he dressed in a suit. And so we would always have to present our work in front of class. And even though my work was good, his work was incredible. I would always think, man, even if my work was the same amount of quality as his, I feel like more people will perceive his work better just by the way he presented himself. And so I was like, how am I supposed to compete with that? So ever since then, I've always tried to dress as best as I could. I dress normally over in the weekends. I dress in a t-shirt and shorts, jeans. But for work, I always dress as best as I can. Okay. Are your eyebrows fake? I don't know. Are they? Check this out. Can fake eyebrows do that? I don't know. It's up to you. You can make your own decision, my man. Okay, my buddy Jade. This is a cool story. So Jade, he was always into guns and like stuff like that, grenades, trucks, America type of stuff. And so he ended up finding a company later on, a little bit after graduating, and he is now designing kind of like gun accessories, not necessarily guns themselves, but accessories that you can, modify your guns and create attachments and stuff like that. And he tells me that it's a cool thing to do. He really likes doing it, but then there's a lot of regulation when it comes to stuff like that. It's a lot of regulation when it comes to manufacturing stuff like that in China, and then also trying to figure out a way to ship them over to America. So that's a little bit of a headache. He says he wants to get paid a little more. It's not quite the most paying thing, but otherwise he's doing what he has always done throughout school, which is a good thing. Okay, let's see. Would love to see you do Cal State Long Beach with Chris Do from the future. I know. So when they first started that channel, The Future, I actually, he was doing some requests for questions, and I submitted a video on a question that I had, which was, I'm an industrial designer, and we are taught graphics design, but I want to improve my graphics design. What is the thing that makes an industrial design graphics design different than a graphics design? I remember submitting that video, and he actually put it in his own video, and answered my question. I don't know where the video is. It was a while ago, maybe a year or two ago, but that was really, really cool. Since then, their channel exploded, and they've become the #1 freaking graphics design channel on YouTube. So that's freaking awesome. I wish that would happen to my channel, but still trying. Which college and from where do you recommend to go? So I get this a lot. A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, what college is going to be best for me? I think it's because I made that like top 10 design college video, that people think that I know everything about colleges, but I actually don't. I've only attended one college, and that's the only college that I really, really know and have an actual opinion about. And it's a great college. It's really affordable. It was close to where I live, and I got a great education from it, and I landed a job based off of the degree that I got from it. So can't ask for more, and that is Cal State Long Beach. It's a great school. It offers industrial design, general design, and also interior design. Okay. Moving on. Marco, my man Marco. So Marco has always had like a quirky thing. He was always also very into consumer electronics, but then he found his way into designing toys. So that's what he does now. He designs toys. I'm not sure what kind of toys, but that's what he does now. He designs toys. And I feel like that was a really great fit for him, because he's always had this really quirky style. It was like very colorful, very like toy-like and bold, and you know what I'm saying? And so it's cool that he landed himself in toys, because I could really see that working out for him. I haven't talked to him in a while, so I don't really know. Okay, next, my buddy Michio. My buddy Michio has always wanted to design cars. He was always a very simple designer. He also liked designing consumer electronics, but what is cool now is he found his way into Teague. Teague is a really, really well-known, established design firm that specializes in airplanes, I think especially interior airplanes. And so he's doing that. Really cool. I think he gets paid a good amount of money, and so worked out for him. I think he's probably one of the cases where he does match the traditional sense of what an industrial designer is. Can a person self-teach himself industrial design? Yes, they can. You got to work hard. There's a lot of skills that come with it. But I'm a YouTuber. I learn a lot of my knowledge on YouTube videos, and I can say that you can learn a lot when it comes to industrial design on YouTube. If you're diligent, you put in the practice, you can do it. You just won't have that degree. So the most you can get is, if you're lucky, you can convince a company to hire you as an in-house designer, or you can become a freelance designer, of course, and anybody can become a freelance designer. You just have to have the skills to help somebody develop a product and actualize and visualize their product. Okay, let's see. Carlo has been one of the designers that have really, really impressed me. Chris Carlo was actually a viewer of my YouTube channel, and he watched my videos. He's from Italy, and I communicated with him a little bit. And then one day I was walking through the hallways of my school, and he was like, "Yo, it's me, Carlo." And I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" And so I actually got to meet him in person, and we actually graduated together, and we became really good friends. And Carlo is one of those guys that is just a hustler. I don't want to put it badly, but he was always like this type of weasel type of guy, but always figured out a way to get what he wanted. It was crazy. And so he's found his way into footwear design, and he started off at Reebok. I think Reebok. No. It wasn't Reebok. It was New Balance. First, it was New Balance, and then it was Reebok, and then it was Vans, and then now he worked at a company that was in my hometown, Santa Barbara, at this place called Alta, and I think now he's somewhere else. I think now he's at Reebok. So I might have got the order mixed up, but he's gone from a couple different shoe companies already. So he's got a lot of experience under his belt with the same amount of time that we've been working, graduated for 2 years. So I'm super impressed with Kahlo. He's making good money. He's doing what he always wanted to do, which is designing shoes. And that's freaking awesome. So far, I've pretty much listed almost everybody has become some sort of a designer, not necessarily the designer as we all know, but in the range of a designer, not somebody that, became a designer and started working as a mechanic or whatever. Okay, my buddy Michael is a very close friend of mine. We've shared bedrooms together before and lived together. And my buddy Michael works at a lighting company now. Not necessarily industrial design where he's sketching and stuff like that, but he's really figuring out logistics. He's working with clients. There's companies that want to figure out what's the best way to do lighting, just kind of like this, or special kind of lighting for commercial buildings. And so he's figuring out how to create these lights, how to have them made in China, and then how to install them. And so not necessarily industrial design, but it's creating, I would say. It's, figuring out what the client needs and trying to figure out how to actually accomplish it, which is pretty much the very, fundamental thing of what an industrial designer does. Okay, let's see. Do you think you could go into design sector after a degree such as architecture? I would say so. I think there has been cases, really, really famous people, but there has been cases of architects designing products. And so architects design big buildings. I feel like if they can channel their skills into designing a little product, then I'm pretty sure it's possible 100%. 100%. In life, you can really do whatever you want. That's what I've learned ever since I've graduated school. You can really just figure out a path and try to stick with it, and then just be able to do it if that's what you really want to do. Many things you don't necessarily have to have a degree or have to go to school. You can just find out the people that you need to know, get in touch with them, get to know them. Hopefully you will be offered the opportunity, build that resume, build that portfolio up. It might take a couple years, but you can do it, and you don't really need school in order to achieve it. You could be able to do whatever you want to do. Okay, let's see. Andrew. Okay, my buddy Andrew is now considered an engineer technician. Andrew has never been, I don't want to say this, it might be mean, but he's never been the best designer, but he's always impressed me in the sense that he's landed jobs that paid pretty well as a designer. It's really, really interesting. And so even if you're not quite the best designer, sorry, Andrew, if you're watching this, but he was able to land jobs that other people that were better than him weren't. It's actually very interesting. So you don't necessarily have to be the best designer in order to land a job and get paid pretty well. And so that's what Andrew showed me. He showed me that, maybe I'm not the best, maybe I don't have the most social skills, but I can still land a job that pays me a good amount of money. So that's really cool. So An engineering technician, I would say, is kind of in the realm of an industrial designer. You're still very technical. You're working on 3D CAD. You're figuring out how to build stuff and make stuff. So still in the realm of industrial design, I would say. Let's see, moving on. Did you need to know C++ or Arduino to get into consumer electronics? Nope, did not. How I was able to design consumer electronics things is that I designed a microphone. I designed a microphone in my senior year as my final senior thesis because that's what I wanted to do. I was really into videos, YouTube. I was really into consumer electronics. I always, looked up phone reviewers. I always watched MKBHD and Unbox Therapy and TLD. All of these people. I followed them. CNET. I was always such a religious person when it came to consumer electronics, and so so when it came to video, I designed the microphone. Here, let me try to show it to you guys. Give me a second. Oh, okay. So this is the microphone I designed right here. Oops. So this is just a model, but essentially it's like a microphone system where you would essentially just connect different things. Like this is a microphone mounted onto your camera. This is the microphone itself. This is kind of like a pop or like a foam isolator in order to keep some unwanted sounds out. And so I essentially designed this product, and when I went to the interview, they really, really liked it. And so they hired me. They didn't use the product, but they hired me because I was in the realm of what they were looking for. And so you don't need to be a very technical person. It really depends on the job and what they're looking for. You just kind of have to put yourself out there and see what you can find. But I didn't need to know anything that was technical. They just wanted something that they just wanted somebody that was able to visualize their ideas. So they had a lot of ideas, and they were having a hard time visualizing it in the form of drawings, in the form of renderings, in the form of prototypes. And so they needed somebody that can turn their ideas into these visual things. And so that was me. And so I listened to what they said. I heard what they had to say, and I helped them create it. And so that's why they hired me, and that's where I am today. And so it really just depends on the job and the people that you're looking for. And hopefully you get lucky, and you find things just happen to work out. Actually, I got a better question. I am not the best at drawing. Is that something that would impact me getting a job? Nope, it is not. Drawing is probably the number one thing that people think about when they think about industrial design. And so it is good that you are good at drawing, but it's not the number one thing. Personally, I would say the number one thing probably is CAD, SolidWorks, some type of a 3D skill where you're able to build it. Because you can do so much with CAD. You can create renderings, which is like these realistic images by adding color in Keyshot and lighting and stuff like that to create these images. You don't have to make the thing. You just have to build it in CAD, render it, and that's what you get. You can use the CAD file to 3D print and create prototypes. You can have a CAD file to send off to China, have them analyze it and build it for you. And then CAD is also a very technical thing. It's kind of on the side of engineering, but it's also kind of on the side of art at the same time. It kind of falls right in the middle. And so I personally think 3D CAD skills is probably the number one skill that an industrial designer should learn. And it's also very practical at the same time. But drawing, if you really think about it, drawing is all about putting an idea down onto paper as quickly as possible. And so, and that's as far as it's gonna go, and they don't want you to, sit down and sketch a super highly detailed drawing like this. Something like this is more of art. It's more of art where it's more about the piece than it is about the idea, which will eventually be the product, right? And so drawing, you don't necessarily need to be a master at it, But personally, for me, I've always drawn as a kid. I think that drawing is it it kind of makes you seem like a better designer if you can actually draw better. If you can draw really, really well, people will think you're a good designer for some reason. And so that's mainly the reason why I keep it up, other than the fact that I just love doing it. I draw on my free time. And so it's just a fun thing for me to do. But I would highly recommend you improve your drawing skills. Have a couple of videos on that topic. Definitely go check it out. Okay, let's see. Where did my list go? Shoot, I lost my list. Okay, back to the list. Okay, Chris. Okay, Chris has always been an interesting character. He is a very, very talented guy. Like I said, with a handful of really good designers, he was one of them. And what he was good at was 3D, and he was also good at making stuff. So right now, he got a really good connection with the school itself, Cal State Long Beach, ended up becoming the furniture design professor, since our furniture design professor left his job, and so he took it over. But before that, he was the shop technician, where he would just keep up the shop and make sure all the machines worked. And since he did a lot of furniture stuff, he was really, really good at that. And since he was already in there, since he graduated as a designer, since the design professor that taught furniture left, he was the perfect person for that job. And so he took it over now. And he's also an entrepreneur, which is awesome. Something that I always strive to be. Not that I've had as much success, but he's never came off to me as the type to be an employee, to show up, to sit down and do work for 8 hours and go home. There's just some people that I know that they don't come off that way, and Chris was one of them. And so he's doing what he loves. He is an entrepreneur trying to build up his furniture business while also having that stable job of becoming a professor on the side, which I think is awesome. Okay, my buddy Patrick. So Patrick, again, another one of those handful of industrial designers who I personally very greatly admired his work. He was incredible at, like, there's a lot of different skills when it comes to industrial design, like drawing, like prototyping, like 3D CAD and rendering and presentation, graphics design. There's a lot of different skills when it comes to industrial design. And usually a lot of good industrial designers, they're good at, one of these things. But personally, I think he was good at all of these things. He was really, really good at all of these things. And so Patrick was so good that he ended up winding up at I think it started off as an industrial design gig, but then it kind of turned into more of a video gig. And so he's doing a lot of video editing, I believe, and he's so good at just figuring things out. And his YouTube channel blew up when he started a YouTube channel. So then he's really good at just doing these things. So I would say in this case, he didn't necessarily wind up in industrial design, since it's video. Video is not quite industrial design, but he's so good at doing things that I think things will just work out for him. Okay, Vivian, let's see, designer at, so Vivian also became a designer. Let's see, what I remember of Vivian is I forgot, I don't remember the things that she designed, but happy to hear that she's a designer, so that's cool. Let's see, Matt. My buddy Matt is a designer as well. He moved far away, so I haven't really heard from him very much, but he was the type of designer that designed things like GoPros, things like surfboards, and very, very action sports, beachy kind of stuff. And so luckily, he landed himself in a job that pretty much is related to surfing hardware. So I found him on, I think, LinkedIn, and so that's cool. My girl Shayla was also a very close friend of mine, and she was also in that TV show that I was on, Driver versus Driver, where we got to design a driver by Wilson and had it tested and prototyped up and made. And so she was a really, really good designer who kind of wanted to do automotive, I think. She always drew cars and stuff like that. So she found herself in designing electric motorcycles, I think, or like battery type of stuff that had to do with electric bikes and motorcycles. I don't think she's doing that anymore. But she started off doing that. She was actually getting paid pretty well, but I think the company went under. Something happened, so she went back to her old job, which is not design related. But you got to do what you got to do in order to make money, right? Hopefully she can find her way back into design. Okay, so far I would say only a handful of people out of this list um, does not have a design related job. Okay, my buddy Kevin. Kevin is one cool MFA. Kevin is working at Honda now, and he is not necessarily a designer. He doesn't do car design. The last time I talked to him, he said he was more of like a product manager, which is also very similar when it comes to design. So you're not necessarily doing the technical stuff. You're not doing any drawing. Maybe you are. You're not doing any CAD or anything like that. But what he's doing is he's doing a lot of research. He's figuring out what people would want. He's figuring out maybe some features and how to lead a team. And so that's really cool. And that's more on the research side of design, which is not a lot of people talk about because it's actually not that interesting to talk about. But it's a major aspect of design, which is research, figuring out who your competitors are, figuring out what features to put in a project in order to make it be viable for people to want to buy. You know, you could always have features in a product, but people might not want to buy it because that's not the features that they're looking for. And so Kevin is doing his thing. He's getting paid a good amount. He's working a good amount of overtime and looks like he's loving life. So Kevin is doing a great job. My buddy Paul is also a designer, reaching the bottom of the list now. So Paul is also a designer. Don't really know too much about what he's up to. Maro, I don't really know too much about him, but looks like he is also a designer. Maro lives in Japan. So I always thought it was interesting to be an industrial designer in Japan because they have some interesting type of products out there, you know? And so it's probably way different than Western products. And this is something that I've learned because I'm working a lot with Taiwan and Far East and China, and I see the things that they produce, and it's quite different than things that what people in the West, like Americans, would design. And there's quite a difference. And so I always wondered how it would be with Japan, because that's always a very interesting country with all the different products that they have. And so it would be a really cool thing maybe in the future to go to Japan and just be a designer in Japan. Okay, Joanna, she is a product lead. So I think that's not necessarily industrial design, but it has to do in the realm of products. I know that she's had to travel over to China, Far East, in order to just work with the manufacturers. And so this is something that, ooh, excuse me, ooh, burp a lot when you talk a lot. Okay, so if you're wanting to become if you are interested in becoming an industrial designer, also expect to travel quite often over to China because that's where things are made. That's where things are made cheaply in order for business to be profitable. And so that's something that I haven't done yet, but I'm literally going to do in the next month, or it's April now. So I'm going to be going over to Taiwan in April for 3 weeks. Maybe I'll film it, maybe I won't. I've been kind of like burnt out a little bit when it comes to video, hence why I'm making this video live so I don't have to do any editing or any uploading. It'll just be done. But I'll be heading over to Taiwan for 3 weeks and doing my thing over there, developing products, meeting with manufacturing, meeting with the team over there and understanding how they work. So that'll be cool. But yes, expect to travel a lot. If you're interested in that, industrial design is definitely a good path for you. Okay, can anyone be an industrial designer without going to college? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you can do whatever you want, and that's not being sarcastic. You can be an industrial designer, especially if you watch my YouTube videos. Okay, I just have one more question. My dream is to create products to help people with diabetes, with disabilities. Sorry, I have a little bit of dyslexia, self-diagnosed dyslexia, really bad at reading. So bear with me, guys. Disabilities, live life to its fullest. Is industrial design the place for me? Of course, that is actually a category when it comes to industrial design. You know, you could be doing stuff like me, where you design consumer electronics. You could be designing shoes. You could be designing cars. You could be designing cosmetic stuff. And you could also be designing products that help older people. That's definitely a booming market, and older people usually are the ones that have some sort of disability, and so that's definitely a huge market. You know, there's a lot of people on earth now, and eventually all these people are gonna get old, and when these people get old, they're gonna buy certain products when they have arthritis, when they are too old to walk themselves, so they need a cane, when they need assistant things in the bathroom, stuff like this. It's going to be a booming market. Personally, I think it's going to be a trend that is going to be taking off as this, you know, overpopulation eventually gets older, and they're going to need certain products cater to their disabilities. Okay, so that's a great one to have, man. That's a great goal to have for sure. How'd your friend get into footwear design? Do you take a course in? Okay, so how he got into footwear design is one day there was an internship opportunity for New Balance. New Balance is a pretty well-known shoe company, not the most well-known, but pretty well-known. And a couple of us applied for it. One of them was me, because I thought, whoa, New Balance, that sounds really cool. I had no interest in shoes at all. But I was like, that sounds like a cool company to work for. That would look real nice on my resume. I didn't end up getting the job because I think it was clear that I wasn't a shoe person. You know, I wear leather shoes. I still have the pair of Vans that my buddy gave me. I don't wear like sneakers and trendy shoes like most people wear. I wear leather shoes that I've had my pair of shoes since 2012, so you could wear them for forever. You know, double monk shoes, Oxford, stuff like that. And so I'm not that type of a person that designs those type of shoes. So it was clear I was, you know, obviously very talented. The person really liked me, but I just didn't have that internal interest in designing shoes. But my buddy Chris Kahlo did, and he got the job. He landed it. He did the internship, built that resume under him, got that experience under him. Just that one internship, you're able to build that body of work, right? Then you bring that body of work to another company that might be interested in you. So he brought it over to Vans, I believe. So he worked at Vans for a little bit, and he built that body of work. Now he has New Balance. Now he has Vans. And then you bring that over to another company, say, hey, look, I work for New Balance and Vans. And they're going to be like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Let me see your work. And if they like it, then they'll hire you for that. And it just keeps on going and going and going. So that's how he was able to do it, which is a very, very good way to analyze in order to figure out how you might want to figure out how to get into a certain career path. But yes, okay, moving on. Adrian, my buddy Adrian, he designs Tesla body aftermarket body parts. So I think he designs like bumpers and lips and stuff like that. It's not too much design, I believe. He also runs the website and does a lot of other things as well. You know, like if you work at a smaller company, be prepared to do a lot of normal business stuff, you know, reaching out to manufacturers and designing weird things and running websites and doing graphics design and all this stuff. So that's what he does. But luckily, he's also able to do a little bit of design where he's designing aftermarket parts for Tesla, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then I think the last person I have on my list is Thomas. So Thomas, has always said he wanted to be a UX UI designer. I don't really know too much about that, but I think it's about like flow in apps and uh, graphics design and graphic user interface type of stuff. He was able to land the job. The only downside is I think that he isn't getting paid as well as he'd wish. But it's something that he always wanted to, and something that he always said when he was in school. So that's a good thing. Okay, that was the last person on this list. I would say the majority of the students that graduated with me landed a job in industrial design. When it comes to the Southern California area, so I would say there are, just based off of this, there are a lot of design jobs, design related jobs, similar product related jobs. You might not be, I would say there was only about maybe at most 5 people on this list that are actually doing what you would call industrial design: sketching, CADing, pitching, figuring out solutions, what's going to work, what's not going to work, and creating products that you can hold in your hand and that people will use. And so there's only about a couple of people, me being one of them. Luckily, I feel very fortunate to be able to do that, because I know that that's not usually the case all the time. And so if you're actually looking to do actual industrial design, or if you're looking to do product development, if you're looking to do somewhat of creating stuff, I would say industrial design is the way to go. Okay, let me answer some of these questions, and then I'm gonna hop off, have some dinner, and take off my suit and put on a normal t-shirt. Let's see, how can I get into automotive design if I have an automotive mechanical bachelor's? Dude, if you know that answer, please let me know, because so let me tell you my story. I've been drawing cars ever since I was a kid, like probably yourself and most designers. I eventually learned that Art Center, the school Art Center College of Design, was pretty much the school when it came to design college in Southern California. And so I really wanted to attend that school when I was around like 18 years old. And then I learned that that school was extremely expensive. At the time, it was $16,500 per term, 8 terms total in order for you to graduate. I know it's a little different now, but at that time when I was thinking about going there, $16,000. Let's do the math. Let me get my calculator out. $16,500 for 8 terms, so times 8. That would be $132,000 of just tuition money. This doesn't include books. This doesn't include supplies. This doesn't include rent. This doesn't include food, and everything else that you have to buy. So I would have probably found myself in over $200,000 worth of debt if I went to that school. That's not a good investment when it came to myself, because I worked full time when I was going to my junior college, and I had a pretty well-paying job at the time. I was getting paid like $17, $18 an hour, which was good for being an 18-year-old. And I was working full time, so I was saving over $2,000, I was saving over $2,000 every month because I lived at home. And so it took me years in order to save up $30,000. I saved up $30,000 to go to Art Center. And when I saved up $30,000, I thought to myself, I worked way too hard for this money, and it's not even anywhere close to $132,000. Not anywhere close. And I worked so hard for that money, and I thought that I didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to give it away. And I learned that school has to be an investment. It has to be something that has to make sense for you and work out for you. It's good to always think about your goals and your dreams and what you want to do in life, but you also have to make it work out for you financially, or else you're not going to live a good life. You're always going to be struggling for cash. You're going to be so stressed out, paying back all these loans that, you kind of just want to work, make money and buy the things that you want to buy and save some up for retirement, and you want to be happy that way. And digging yourself into $200,000 worth of debt, it's going to take a freaking long time to pay that back. And I earned every single one of that $30,000 that I saved up, and I just knew that I didn't want to give it up. I knew how hard it was to save up that money. So imagine how hard it would be to actually pay it back in student loans. It would take forever. It would take forever. So I decided to go to Cal State Long Beach. I switched from car design. I had to make that decision for myself, but I decided, okay, put car design aside, something that I really wanted to do. I also, along with the money, I also heard some not so good things about becoming a car designer. Like there's a lot of politics in it. It's very competitive. When you design cars, most likely you won't design the whole car. You only design a little part of the car, maybe the little side view mirror or something like that. And so it just didn't seem appealing to me anymore. And so I decided, push that aside. Instead of designing cars, I will study industrial design, where I could design pretty much any product that I want. And I thought that doesn't seem like a bad trade. And it turned out for the better for me. So that's my story. I'm always interested in cars still. I love cars. I don't necessarily have too much of a drive I don't necessarily have too much of a drive when it comes to wanting to design cars, but I love drawing cars. I love analyzing new cars and new designs. But personally for me, it's not something I'm as interested in as I used to be. And so I hope that it works out for you. I would say to go to the school that could get you some sort of and build that portfolio of car design, network, find the people that you need to know, get your foot in the door, build your way up from the bottom, and start slow, and don't expect too much, and hopefully things will work out for you. But yeah, I'm sorry, my man, I can't answer that question. It's something that I've personally struggled with too, so I hope that you can figure it out yourself. Okay, all right. Is there one more question? One more question. Can you live comfortable being an industrial designer or product designer, or is that an average ballpark? Comfortable, I don't know how much comfortable is. I'm kind of a frugal person. You might see this clothes and think I spend a lot of money. I don't spend a lot of money. I wear the same clothes over and over and over again. I live very comfortably. To live very comfortably means just don't spend more than you make, and be able to stash a little bit of money on the side. This means altering what you spend your money on. This means really knowing where your money is going. And really coming up with a system to make the money that's coming in and coming out work out for you. But I would say yes. I would say some of my friends are making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year. First 2 years out of college, which is freaking good. I think. I remember when I was in school still. My dream was graduate, land a job in a big company, work my way up the ladder, and hopefully get paid around 50K a year salary. I'm doing better than that now. I'm making more than 50K, and so it's higher than my expectations. I know some people they think comfortable is 100K. Some people they think comfortable is 200K, which is kind of high if you're thinking about being an industrial designer. You probably won't make more than 150K at most, I would say. If you really want to make the big bucks, you probably have to try to start your own business of some sort, or you might want to do something similar when it comes to industrial design, like product manager, being a manager, being a creative director. I'm pretty sure they make a lot of money, but that's not necessarily industrial design, But yeah, it's around, I would say, anywhere from 50K to 120K. I'll give you that. If that's comfortable for you, then yes. Okay, I am currently studying industrial design. However, I see it more as a hobby rather than a career. But because I like to make things for myself rather than for others, I am considering marketing. Okay, what you are, I think you're misinterpreting it. What you are is a natural designer. I haven't used this term I haven't used this term recently, but you are a natural designer, meaning that this is just what you do. You know, you would do this for fun. You would design for fun. It just also so happens to be a career that you can make money off of. And so, and so this is something that I find myself too. I draw for fun. I study design for fun. I look at things and I think they're beautiful. I try to make things in SolidWorks just on my, you know, on a Saturday night. This is something that I love to do. And I think it's awesome that I can make money off of it, you know. And sometimes I remember when I made my first dollar in design, I thought I was getting away with something because I was like, man, I would do this for free and now somebody's paying me to do it. So for you, maybe if you can look at it that way, that would be beneficial because, you know, I'm happy to do something that I would already love to do just for all my free time. But if you want to do those things, marketing, you know, stuff like that, very traditional jobs, then go ahead and do it, my man. But industrial design is definitely a career. You definitely make money off of it. It's definitely respected, and people definitely need this type of service. Okay, one more question. One more question. Hello, man. I am Brazilian and I admire you a lot. That's not a question, but thank you so much. Jimmy, do you have any tips for recent graduate designs who struggle to find a first job? Oh, okay. If you're looking, I've I've never had to look for a job when it comes to like finding listings and sending in my resume and hopefully getting an interview. I've never had to do that. I've always landed jobs based off of word of mouth. Somebody would say, "Yo, you know, I have a position open. You wanna try it out," or blah blah blah, and I would do it. Sometimes wanting to do the job, sometimes just going into an interview to practice my interviewing, and just landing a job. That's how I was able to do it, and I personally think that's the easiest way to land a job is through word of mouth, is through somebody knows you and blah, blah, blah. That's why networking is so important. That's why putting yourself out there is so important. But actually trying to look for a job from scratch, from looking at Glassdoor listings, that I think that's kind of hard. You know, that's actually very, very hard. But just keep trying. I know one of my buddies who had to do that. He just kept looking for 6 months, like literally just give yourself half a year to put out your resume, do what you need to do, sign up for as many hundreds of resumes as you possibly, or job applications as you possibly can, and hopefully one of them will land, and that's all you need is just one. So it worked out for him, and so I think that just keep trying. And yeah, all right guys, that is about it. Whew, it's hot in here. I'm gonna take off my clothes and I will catch you guys in the next video, hopefully. If you guys made it this far, I just want to say that I'm happy that you guys are still watching, and I'm very appreciative of it. Video, if I can share with you guys some of my thoughts about content creation and YouTube is I'm just not as happy as I used to be when creating it. I'm stuck in this room, I'm all by myself, and I'm just making these videos. And I feel like I'm a little burnt out, and I don't get as much joy in it as possible. And that's why I haven't really been making too many videos. And I wanted to go live and kind of talk to you guys and, you know, be a little, like, try to get my foot into it a little bit more and see where it goes. But maybe I'll make a video, maybe I won't in a couple months. Maybe I'll start a new YouTube channel doing something different. But I hope you guys enjoyed the value in it, and I'm always happy to help you guys out. So hit me up on Instagram. I know that some of you guys already have, and I know that I haven't got to everybody because it's just so many, you know, so many people ask me questions and I just can't sit there and answer them all. And so sorry about that, guys, but I hope everything works out for you. And oh, Morna, what's up, Morna? Hey, it's good to see you. Just catching the last bit of your live, going live. Thank you. Yes, catching last bit. Okay, guys, love you all. My name is Jimmy, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.